The wind howls like a wounded beast, slamming against a fragile stone house perched on the edge of the frozen wilderness. Snow blankets the land in an unbroken expanse of white, swallowing everything in silence. The sky, a dull gray, presses heavily over the mountains, as if weighed down by the unbearable cold. Inside the house, the air is thick with the scent of burning wood. A small fire flickers in the corner, its glow casting long shadows against the cracked walls. A pair of weathered hands, rough and calloused from years of labor, reach forward, feeding another piece of wood into the flames. Sparks rise, disappearing into the dim light. A heavy wool shawl is wrapped tightly around frail shoulders, but the cold still bites. The air inside is barely warmer than the world outside. Every breath turns to mist, lingering for a moment before fading. The silence is oppressive, broken only by the occasional groan of the wind forcing its way through unseen cracks. In the corner, a small group of goats huddle together for warmth. Their breath rises in soft puffs, their bodies pressed tightly against one another. A wooden barrier separates them from the rest of the room, their only shelter from the merciless cold. A hand reaches out, gently brushing against a goat's thick fur. The animal shifts slightly, comforted by the familiar touch. With slow, deliberate movements, the woman stands, her joints stiff and aching. Her bare feet, wrapped in layers of cloth, step carefully over the uneven stone floor. She pulls a heavy iron pot from a low shelf, the metal icy against her fingers. Setting it down near the fire, she moves with practiced efficiency, her actions mechanical from years of routine. She turns toward a wooden crate near the wall, its contents covered by a thick wool blanket. Pulling it back, she reveals a small stash of food, dried grains, a handful of onions, a few shriveled potatoes. Beside them, wrapped tightly in cloth, a portion of goat meat. A rare luxury. Outside, the wind shifts, bringing with it the distant sound of ice cracking. The mountains are alive, shifting under the weight of the season's coldest night. The woman pauses, listening, but the sound fades. Just another reminder of how unforgiving this land can be. She moves back to the fire, placing a battered clay bowl beside her. Pouring water from a tin container, she watches as it steams the moment it touches the pot. The fire is too weak to bring immediate warmth, but she is patient. She has learned that in these mountains, nothing comes quickly. Everything is earned through endurance. She reaches for a knife, the blade dulled from years of use, and begins chopping an onion. The sharp scent fills the room, mixing with the smoke. Her fingers move with precision, slicing through the layers without hesitation. She has done this 1,000 times before, in better days, in warmer places, but always with the same quiet determination. The night stretches on, the temperature dropping with each passing hour. The woman does not complain. She does not curse the cold, nor does she fight it. She simply moves, breathes, survives. Because that is what she has always done. The first sign is the sudden silence. The wind, which had howled without pause, stills for a brief moment, as if the mountain itself is holding its breath. Then, without warning, it returns stronger, angrier. The wooden beams groan under the force. Snow and ice slam against the walls, a deafening roar filling the small space. She straightens, instinct tightening in her chest.
The storm has changed.
This is no ordinary cold front. This is something worse. The goats shift uneasily in their pen, sensing the shift in the air. The howling outside grows relentless, the wind forcing its way through the smallest cracks, bringing a sharp chill that cuts through even the thickest wool. Then she hears it, a sound she knows too well. Wood splintering. A crack, deep and ominous, carried through the storm. The goat shelter. She moves before thinking, pulling her shawl tight, forcing her feet into heavy boots. The door resists as she pushes against it, frozen at the edges, sealed by ice. She shoves harder, and the moment it gives, the storm crashes into her. The cold is immediate, sinking into her skin like knives. The wind steals her breath, whipping the loose ends of her clothing, blinding her with snow. She stumbles forward, each step a battle. The world outside is chaos, nothing but white and wind and the distant, desperate bleats of the goats. The shelter leans at a dangerous angle, the wooden supports creaking under the weight of ice and wind. Another gust, and one of the beams snaps, sending a section of the enclosure tumbling into the snow. The animals cry out, panicked. She moves faster, gripping the frozen wood with bare hands. The cold bites deep, but she does not let go. One by one, she pulls the heavy stones that line the base, reinforcing the structure, pushing with all her strength. The wind resists, but she grits her teeth, refusing to yield. This is not the first storm she has faced. Her breath comes in short, sharp bursts, each exhale turning to mist before vanishing into the storm. The snow clings to her lashes, her vision narrowing to the single task in front of her, securing the shelter, keeping the goats alive, surviving the night. She reaches for another stone, her fingers stiff and uncooperative. The wind shifts again, and for a brief second, she loses her footing, the ice beneath her giving way. Her knee slams hard into the frozen ground, pain flashing up her leg. But there is no time for pain. She forces herself up, gritting her teeth, pushing forward. The last stone is set. The shelter holds. The goats press against each other, their fear settling as the structure stabilizes. She lingers a moment, breath heavy, heart pounding. Then, without hesitation, she turns back toward the house. The storm is still raging, the cold still merciless, but inside, a fire waits. And she has no intention of letting it die.